All right, campaign 2022 rolled on this week with some consequential primary elections. So what do they mean for the GOP in November and beyond? Let's ask conservative political commentator Ian Haworth and influential Democrat strategist Doug Schoen, author of the book America, Unite or Die, How to Save Our Democracy. Okay, guys, first, a little bit of an update. We'll give you kind of a recap here. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp this week easily rolled to victory over Trump-backed David Perdue. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger defeated Trump-backed Congressman Jody Hice. That was a surprise to many folks. Herschel Walker easily dispatched his opponents in the Senate race in Georgia. In the state of Texas, Ken Paxton handily defeated George P. Bush. And in Alabama, Congressman Mo Brooks and Katie Britt are now in a runoff. And in the Pennsylvania Senate race, that is now in a recount. Dr. Oz yesterday declared himself the presumptive GOP nominee. He is ahead by about 1,000 votes. It was a big week in politics. Doug, what stood out to you from the primaries this week?
What stood out to me was that the Trump endorsement, while certainly strong and influential, is not all powerful. In the Georgia Secretary of State, the Georgia gubernatorial race, despite the president's endorsement, his chosen candidates did not win. At the same time, Herschel Walker, who he literally recruited to run, won an overwhelming victory in the Georgia Senate race. We've seen that incumbents with strong independent bases are able to sustain the Trump opposition. But that being said, Trump still remains the dominant figure in the Republican Party.
Ian, your thoughts?
I think it's certainly going to be sparking concern for some Trump fans, but also I think it's going to be sparking concern for Democrats. I think Democrats in 2022 and 2024 are pretty much relying on Trump. Like, Trump was their wild card in 2020. And I think if Trump starts to recede from the forefront of the GOP, this is going to spark real panic in the Democratic Party because they don't really have any policies to go on right now if you look at Joe Biden's utter collapse of the country.
Yeah, you know, the big story for me was the turnout in Georgia, because the Biden administration had vilified people who were in favor of election integrity bills in these Republican states, and they calling them racist, calling them, Jim Crow 2.0. They saw record turnout across the board. So I think that's the big story. Ian, what does former President Trump do now in Georgia? He's made comments, kind of offhanded comments, that Stacey Abrams would be okay with him. He has said that Kemp can't win the general election. What do you think he should do now? What do you think he's going to do now?
I think he should do what he should have done immediately after the election, is try and move on. I think the GOP, Republicans, conservatives, even moderates, if you don't want to see Joe Biden or Kamala Harris in the White House in 2024, then we need to start moving on from 2020 and pointing to reasons why the Republican Party is the better choice for America, just on matters of inflation, foreign policy, trade, really any topic you want. And I think focusing on specific states like Georgia or Pennsylvania, it's just stuck in the past, and it makes us almost look like losers just complaining because we lost. I think we all need to rally around something positive and something forward-thinking, and I think that includes former President Donald Trump.
Doug, Trump had endorsed Congressman Mo Brooks, who's one of the most conservative members of Congress. Then he pulled his endorsement, calling him woke for one reason or another. I couldn't quite figure it out. He now has a runoff with former Senator Shelby Chief of Staff Katie Britt in less than a month. How do you see this playing out?
Look, I think Katie Britt has a clear 17-odd point lead. She is the odds-on favorite to win. I think Ian makes very good points. My party is unfortunately bereft of ideas that appeal to the broad mass of the American people. And I think the president should get out of the endorsement business, get into the idea business, and talk about the future of the country, less about who he thinks ought to be elected in individual states and individual primaries.
Doug, I want to ask, and I really want to ask you both, I only have a minute left, the way that
Sure.
Republicans and Democrats have handled this tragedy in Texas. I've talked to some folks in Washington, and there's a thought among Democrats that this could be the wedge issue that helps Democrats in November. They're looking at this in a very politically calculated way. Is that a strategy that could work, given inflation, everything else that we're seeing, all the other problems that this administration has and the party has right now?
Simple answer is no. What they should do is something Ian alluded to, work on a bipartisan basis for those aspects of gun violence prevention that I think all right-thinking Americans agree on, like background check, making sure that guns are out of the hands of those with obvious mental illness problems that have been documented. I think if we could do that, we'd be better as a country and better as a party.
Ian, real quick to you, what should Republicans and conservatives be saying to hit the right tone at a moment like this?
I think we need to be talking about solutions. I think we get dragged very quickly into the pro-gun, anti-gun debate, which is really what the left, some parts of the Democratic Party want. We need to be talking about solutions. We need to be talking about school security. We need to be talking about red flag issues, for example, the FBI possibly being warned about the most recent mass shooter. We just need to be focused on solutions rather than being dragged into the arguments that label us as pro-gun in all cases, which I don't think most Republicans are.
All right, I'm going to have to leave it there. Good discussion. Thank you very much. Doug Schoen and Ian Haworth.
Thank you.